The sun hung low over the barren ranchlands, casting long shadows across the dusty ground. A lone figure, barely more than a child, knelt beside a small, motionless body. Her eyes, wide with shock and sorrow, reflected the horror of losing her mother to a sudden illness. She clutched a tattered shawl around herself, trembling not just from the cold, but from the emptiness of a world suddenly stripped of warmth. Her tiny fingers grazed her mother's lifeless hand, unwilling to accept the reality. Tears streamed down her dirt-streaked face, silently pleading for help that might never come. The wind whispered through the dry grass, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers and dust, mingling with the iron tang of loss. She had no relatives nearby, no neighbor who dared approach. Her small frame shivered as the weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. Hunger gnawed at her belly, but grief was far heavier, pinning her to the cold earth. She whispered promises she could barely believe herself, promises to stay strong, to survive, to protect her mother's memory even when she had no one left to guide her. A distant rumble broke her reverie. At first, she thought it was thunder, a storm coming to match the tempest in her heart. But then, dust clouds rose in the distance, and a horse's hooves beat a steady rhythm across the plain. The girl's breath caught. She had never seen anyone ride these lands, except her mother, who had told her to hide from strangers. Yet desperation made her inch closer, curiosity mingling with fear. The sound grew nearer, more deliberate, more commanding, as if the earth itself heralded the arrival of someone who could change her fate. A tall figure emerged over the ridge, wearing a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed a rugged, sun-baked face. The rancher's eyes, sharp and calculating, softened as they fell upon the small girl huddled over her mother. He could see the shock, the grief, the absolute vulnerability. Without a word, he dismounted, boots crunching over the gravelly soil. The girl recoiled instinctively, but something in his calm, steady presence made her hesitate. The rancher knelt, maintaining distance, his voice a gentle rumble. "Hey there, you're safe now." The girl's sobs erupted anew, tears spilling over as she shook her head. "No, no, she's gone," she choked, gripping her mother's frail hand. The rancher's heart ached at the sight. He had dealt with loss, with hardship, but the sight of a child facing such devastation alone was something altogether different. He knew he couldn't leave her there. The world was cruel, yes, but perhaps, he thought, he could offer a flicker of kindness in the vast, unforgiving darkness. Tentatively, he extended his hand. "Come on, kid, let's get you out of this dust and cold. You're coming with me." Her eyes widened in disbelief. She had heard rumors of ranchers, hard men with hard hearts, but here was one, offering help without a word of judgment. The child hesitated, glancing at her mother one last time, then, with trembling fingers, she let him lift her to her feet. The weight of her grief did not vanish, but for the first time in hours, she felt a whisper of hope. The ride back to the ranch was quiet, save for the sound of hooves and the wind against the horse's mane. The girl clung tightly, staring ahead at a world she had never dared explore. The rancher stole glances at her, sensing the storm of emotions roiling inside. He had seen fear, sorrow, and anger before, but never such raw, unshielded grief. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, low, and full of empathy. "We'll get you something to eat, and a warm bed. You won't be alone anymore." The ranch house loomed ahead, modest but sturdy, a beacon of shelter in the sprawling plains. Inside, the smell of baked bread and wood smoke mingled in a way that made the girl's stomach growl despite her grief. The rancher guided her gently to a chair and fetched a bowl of stew. She hesitated at first, eyeing the food suspiciously. Hunger battled sorrow, and finally, she took a tentative bite. Warmth spread through her, not just from the stew, but from the realization that someone cared, that perhaps life still held fragments of goodness. Days turned into weeks, and the rancher slowly gained the child's trust. She shared stories of her mother, of simple joys and small triumphs, and in return, he taught her the ways of the ranch. Feeding horses, mending fences, and even the language of the wind and sky. Yet, beneath her growing laughter, the shadow of loss lingered. Nights were hardest, silent and endless, reminding her of the void her mother had left. The rancher noticed, always patient, never pushing, just offering presence and quiet strength. One evening, a storm rolled in, fierce and sudden. Lightning split the sky, thunder shaking the earth. The girl clutched the rancher's arm, panic rising. I can't, I can't do this alone, she whimpered. He knelt beside her, calm in the chaos. You're not alone, kid. Not now, not ever. We face it together. The storm raged outside, but inside, a fragile warmth wrapped around them. She realized that even in the most violent tempests, support could anchor her, giving her courage she hadn't known she possessed. Then came the twist. One morning, a man arrived at the ranch, claiming to be a distant relative, seeking to take the girl away. Legal documents, stern words, and promises of better prospects were laid before her. The rancher's face remained unreadable, but his hand subtly brushed hers, a silent reassurance. The girl hesitated, torn between the unknown promise of family and the comfort she had begun to feel in this rough, welcoming place. Her heart pounded. Could she trust this stranger, or the man who had shown her true care? In the quiet of her room, she pondered, staring at the small wooden doll her mother had made. Memories flooded back, laughter, warmth, and love. The relative's words sounded hollow, distant. She remembered the rancher's steady presence, his quiet patience, his unwavering kindness. The choice was heavy, fraught with fear of making the wrong decision, yet instinct tugged at her heart. She knew, somehow, that safety wasn't just about shelter or food, it was about trust, about connection, about feeling truly seen. The day of decision arrived. The relative waited, the girl's small hand in hers, ready to lead her away. The rancher stood nearby, silent, eyes steady yet urging her silently to choose wisely. She looked around, the ranch, simple, dusty, alive with the sounds of animals and wind, yet warm in ways she hadn't known before. She took a deep breath, heart pounding, then stepped back, shaking her head at the stranger. I'm staying, she whispered, voice trembling but resolute. Relief and joy washed over the rancher's face, though he kept his voice calm. Good choice, kid. Welcome home. The girl's tears flowed again, this time from gratitude and relief, mingling with a burgeoning sense of belonging. She realized that while her past held pain and loss, her present offered hope, and perhaps, one day, joy. The rancher smiled, a rare, warm curve of lips that promised safety, guidance, and friendship. Part 1 ended with the girl exploring the ranchyard, cautiously joyful, while the rancher observed from the porch, knowing the real journey of healing had just begun. Outside, the wind whispered, carrying promises of growth, laughter, and a future that seemed suddenly brighter than the desolate past. The first rays of dawn bathed the land in gold, symbolizing the start of something new, something resilient, something utterly precious. Morning sunlight spilled across the ranch, warming the girl's face as she wandered among the horses. Each step felt lighter than the day before. She ran her fingers along the manes, laughing softly when one nickered in greeting. The rancher watched her from the porch, a sense of relief washing over him. Healing was never instantaneous, but he could see it starting. Slowly, she was learning that life could still hold moments of joy, even after heartbreak. The ranch was no longer just a place, it was becoming home. The girl began helping with chores, her small hands learning the rhythm of farm life. She fed chickens, carried water, and even helped the rancher mend fences. Every task was a lesson in patience and strength. Slowly, her grief was balanced by accomplishment, her sorrow softened by routine and care. The rancher guided her with quiet encouragement, never rushing, letting her find confidence in her own abilities. Each day, she grew braver, stronger, and more certain that she could survive and thrive. One afternoon, the girl discovered a hidden grove at the edge of the ranch, filled with wildflowers and a small bubbling creek. She ran her fingers through the water, smiling as the sunlight danced on ripples. The rancher joined her, standing a little distance away, watching her joy without intruding. She turned, eyes sparkling, and whispered, "It's beautiful." He nodded, realizing that even simple discoveries could teach her resilience and wonder, replacing some of the darkness her loss had left behind. A week later, a letter arrived from the local school, inviting her to enroll. Fear gripped her at first, the world outside the ranch seemed vast and intimidating. Yet the rancher knelt beside her, encouraging her gently. "You can do this. I'll be right here, every step of the way." Her heart clenched with gratitude. That day, she took her first steps toward a new chapter, leaving behind the shadows of yesterday, feeling supported and seen for the first time in what seemed like forever. One stormy night, the rancher found her staring out the window, worried eyes tracing the lightning. "I'm scared," she admitted. He knelt beside her, hand resting on hers. It's okay. Being brave doesn't mean never being afraid. It means facing fear with someone by your side. That night, as the storm raged, they shared stories of courage and survival. She realized strength wasn't just about standing alone, it was about allowing someone else to share the weight. In the weeks that followed, the girls' laughter returned, echoing across the ranch. She played with the animals, helped in the kitchen, and even started planting a small garden, imagining flowers she and her mother might have loved. The rancher watched her transformation with quiet pride. Slowly, her smiles replaced tears, and her grief, while never fully gone, became a gentle echo rather than a crushing weight. Life was beginning to bloom again, fragile but beautiful. Then came an unexpected twist. A storm had damaged part of the ranch fence, and the livestock scattered. The girl, frightened at first, sprang into action, guiding the animals with determination and courage she hadn't known she possessed. The rancher marveled at her resilience, realizing that trauma had not broken her, it had strengthened her in ways neither of them had imagined. That day, she earned her first real taste of confidence and independence. Evening fell, and the ranch glowed in the amber light of sunset. They sat together on the porch, weary but content. The girl leaned against him, finally trusting that she was safe, truly safe. "I never thought I could be happy again," she whispered. He smiled softly, ruffling her hair. "Happiness isn't about forgetting the past, it's about building a future that honors it." In that moment, the girl realized she could carry her mother's memory without being trapped by it. A neighbor arrived, offering old toys and clothes for the girl, recognizing the rancher's kindness. She giggled as she unpacked a small wooden horse, reminiscent of the one her mother had cherished. Memories mingled with new experiences, creating a tapestry of comfort and hope. The rancher observed silently, knowing the world had gifted her a second chance, one filled with care, warmth, and safety. Her eyes sparkled with gratitude, not just for objects but for love rediscovered. Winter approached, and the ranch took on a new rhythm. Fires crackled in the hearth, meals were shared, and laughter filled the once silent rooms. The girl helped decorate for the holidays, placing ornaments on a small tree. She even baked cookies with the rancher, flour dusting their clothes and faces, creating moments of joy that seemed impossible months before. Each day, her heart healed a little more, each smile a testament to resilience and the power of care. Spring arrived, bringing fresh green shoots and fragrant blooms. The girl's garden thrived, mirroring her own growth. She invited children from nearby farms to play, sharing laughter and stories. The rancher watched from a distance, pride swelling in his chest. What had begun as sorrow now flourished into community and connection. She had transformed, not just surviving, but embracing life with a newfound zeal. One afternoon, the girl discovered a small journal her mother had kept, hidden in a drawer. She read the entries aloud, feeling the warmth of her mother's voice in every word. Tears came, but this time, they were gentle, cleansing. She understood that love never truly leaves, it lingers, guiding, comforting, and inspiring. With the rancher beside her, she felt equipped to honor her mother's memory while embracing her own life fully. The rancher finally introduced her to the town, where neighbors welcomed her with curiosity and kindness. She was nervous, but he reminded her of her strength. Faces softened as they saw the spark in her eyes, the courage in her stance. She had grown from a frightened, grieving child into a resilient, hopeful girl. Connections formed, friendships blossomed, and she realized she was no longer alone in the world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, the rancher and the girl walked hand in hand across the fields. The wind carried the scent of blooming flowers, of horses, of home. She stopped and looked at him, gratitude and love shining in her eyes. "Thank you, for everything," she said softly. He nodded, a gentle smile touching his lips. "No, kid. Thank you for letting me be part of your life." Life continued with quiet beauty. Days were filled with work, laughter, and learning. Nights brought rest, comfort, and the certainty of safety. The girl thrived, surrounded by care, guidance, and a home that nurtured her spirit. The rancher remained her anchor, protector, and friend, guiding her while allowing her to grow independently. Together, they built a life rich with meaning, love, and hope. The final chapter closed with a celebration, the girl's birthday, a small cake with candles, laughter, and gifts. Friends from near and far joined, and for the first time, she felt truly cherished, truly belonging. Her heart swelled with joy, remembering the journey from despair to happiness, realizing that even in the darkest moments, life could offer light. She looked at the rancher, who winked, and whispered, "See. Home is more than a place, it's people." The story ends with the girl gazing at the horizon, hand in hand with the rancher, heart full, tears of happiness glistening. She had faced loss, fear, and uncertainty, yet emerged stronger, resilient, and loved. The ranch was no longer just land, it was a sanctuary, a promise, and a beginning. The sun set, casting golden light over fields, horses, and home, symbolizing hope, renewal, and the beauty of second chances.